Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. Still feeling like ass today, but the show must go on. We still have videos to get out and things to talk about. And I'm actually pretty excited to talk about what we're going to be talking about today. This is some big news coming out of the LEC regarding the LEC slot and what is going on with it. It's like a series of tweets with a lot going on. There are a couple tweets that I want to cover in this video, a couple tweets that I want to save for another video, because there is so many different moving parts, so many different moving pieces of this whole thing. But some actually pretty big updates. Yesterday, I believe the video I had was talking about Wooloo and some of the things that he said, that like Astralis is, potentially fielding offers. K Corp is in the mix, Navi's in the mix, another NA organization is in the mix, all this kind of stuff. But then we had this from Casey Adelo. I don't know, like a big K Corp fan, I think. Sorry. And he tweeted out this. He said, Eros, who had announced the acquisition of the slot by Heretics, is streaming the releases of information. He just said that the negotiations are in progress, but he is pretty sure that Astralis will not sell. He also has this where he says one of the teams has already offered more than 30 million and Astralis has refused. Now, to me, that's not super shocking because, I think the slots are going for in the range of like 40 to 50 million at this point. So if you're only offering 30 million, especially after we just saw Schalke sell last year and we just saw Misfits sell this year, even if it was 80% or whatever, it doesn't make sense to really offer in the 30 million range because if they wanted to sell for 30 million, they could have already done it. There's already people who have offered more than that for the last two spots that have sold. So why at this point would you accept 30? It seems like, if Astralis is going to sell, it's only going to be for more than Schalke sold or for more than Misfit sold. Because if they were going to take less, those teams wouldn't have bought the Misfit slot. They would have bought the Schalke slot. So that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I think a big thing to note here, too, is that Eros was the first guy who announced the Heretics stuff. He actually got the Heretics information out there, like faster than Alejandro and Wooloo and stuff, which like isn't shade to them. It's just it shows you that Eros is having a really big offseason. Obviously, he does have some sources and stuff, and he does have some idea of what's going on. Doesn't mean he can't be wrong about stuff. Doesn't mean he can't be jumping the gun on some stuff. And doesn't mean that even if he's hearing some rumors and stuff, that it's necessarily going to come out to be true. But he believes that Astralis is maybe not going to end up selling. And that doesn't mean that Astralis aren't interested in selling, but it means the right buyer might not be there or the right price might not be there. Now, everyone has a price. Everything has a price. And maybe if Astralis could get to the right number, they'd be willing to sell, but it doesn't seem like that's the case right now. Now, also, this guy said, hey, I haven't seen the live yet, and it seems there's no VOD. He says, Adelo speaks Spanish. Can you tell us what he said? And then Adelo goes through and breaks down a lot of what Eros talked about in this live stream with Esports Maniacos, which, again, I don't speak Spanish and I don't speak French, so I don't really know what's going on. It's not like I can go watch the VOD. So definitely take all of this with a grain of salt because this is translated from Spanish to French. This is just a guy on Twitter taking stuff off a live stream, so it might not all be 100% translated totally accurately. I don't really have a good way of confirming it or anything like that, but I did want to go over at least some of these things that he's saying. He says Navi seem to be the favorites for the slot, and then maybe K Corp. Again, this is talking about the Astralis slot that Eros thinks is not going to be sold because these teams can't get to the right number, can't agree on the right deal. But again, if the Astralis slot does sell, he thinks Navi is the leader in the clubhouse right now. I know I saw a tweet earlier that'd be like, oh, that'd be funny if Navi ends up getting it because like Astralis is like a big time CS:GO org, Navi's a big time CS:GO org, so we'd kind of be swapping out one, primarily or historical CS:GO org for another one. Apparently, Navi has been in League of Legends a little bit in the past, but it's never been anything too crazy. I think Yamato Cannon said that Team Solo Mebdi was like associated with Navi partly back in like season 3 or something like that when they were trying to get into the EULCS. So maybe, Navi has dipped their toe in stuff for a little bit, but again, primarily a CS:GO org, obviously. Eros does say, again, that an org has already proposed greater than or right around 30 million. This was denied by Astralis. Eros doesn't know if this was K Corp or if this was Navi or what, but just, some team offered 30 million. And then this is where things start to get spicy. Koi is probably going to go in 50% into the LEC with Rogue. This is a banger from Eros. I mean, this is a real bomb that we haven't really heard of anything about yet, that Rogue could potentially be interested in selling part of their LEC slot, up to 50% of their LEC slot, and maybe bringing in Koi as the other 50% of the team. Now, that would be interesting because obviously Koi is a huge brand, a huge fan base. If they sold the slot and rebranded to Koi and the Rogue ownership and stuff got to keep 50% still, that would be really crazy. But then also, if Koi is able to get into the LEC with a roster like Rogue, which is really, really talented, and have them all under the Koi name and branding, that could be an absolute home run. That could be a slam dunk. That's the exact opposite of a team like BDS coming into the LEC and then being one of the worst teams of all time. That's a very, very popular and exciting team coming in and then having one of the better rosters in the LEC right off the bat, with room to improve if you also bring in a big influx of money, and then, maybe start making some changes and stuff like that. So that could be really, really crazy. I don't know. Like I said, this is the first we've heard of that. Apparently, Eero says the decision is up to Ibai, and the decision has not been made yet. So it sounds like Rogue, at least from what Eros hears or what Eros thinks, is that Rogue could be interested in selling half their slot if Koi wants to, come up to their price or whatever. That could be spicy. Now, these things become way more realistic and way more easy because, again, if we're valuing an LEC slot at 40 million or 50 million or whatever, buying 50%, that's only going to be 20 million or 25 million or whatever. And you can see a lot of these teams are offering 25, 30, 35 million. A lot of the teams aren't willing to get up to that full 40, 45, 50 mark. So if Koi and K-Corp and a lot of these other teams that are having liquidity issues that some other reporters and stuff have said, like issues getting their hands on this type of money from investors or from themselves or whatever, being able to buy 50% of a slot for 25 million all of a sudden becomes way more realistic and way more possible than buying a slot for 50 million or 45 million or whatever. Now, it is still a lot of money. It is still very, very expensive, and I'm sure that's why Ibai isn't really sure if this is what he wants to do or while he's still thinking about it, but that is potentially very, very spicy. He does say also that the LEC is not dying in terms of viewership like the LCS. The proof is that orgs still want to buy, so the prices are going to continue to rise. He does say that Kometo, this is the K-Corp owner, says Kometo was recently in Berlin, Ibai too, but this was for discussions for the VCT slot, the Valorant franchising slot, not necessarily for anything related to League of Legends. He also says that Wooloo would not have, he said Wooloo didn't really publish anything new yesterday. All this has been known for quite some time, about Astralis potentially selling and Navi and K-Corp and an NA org being interested, all that stuff. He says this is what's very, very interesting. Okay, I'm recording this on Tuesday, so pretty early in the week. He says everything should be decided this week. We've heard the deadline is September. Obviously, we're in mid-August already. September's coming very, very fast. I don't know if the deadline is the beginning September, late September, whatever, but for apparently what he's saying, we're going to know what's going on with the Astralis slot, what's going on with the Rogue slot, maybe what's going on with the SK slot, all this stuff by the end of the week. He said we should know the final decisions very, very quickly. So be looking out for some news very, very soon. He also says Navi are the ones who stayed the furthest in the negotiations for the Misfit slot. Obviously, Heretics ended up winning that, but Navi was deep into those negotiations. He also says, so this is their second attempt trying to get an LEC spot, and we already know that they obviously got outbid for the Misfit slot. So we knew we know how much they're willing to pay or how much they're willing to not pay. They're not willing to pay what the Heretic slot sold for from Misfits to Heretics. So again, if they were not willing to pay that price, it makes it unlikely that they're going to pay that much or more for the Astralis slot. Now, I also think it makes it unlikely that Astralis is going to sell for less than Misfits just sold their slot for. And I think this is why people are saying, this is why Eros is saying, it seems unlikely that Astralis is going to sell because, again, it just doesn't make sense. It seems like people are not really willing to meet the offers right now. But again, things could change. Maybe, people are talking to investors right now. Maybe they find some new money. Maybe they're able to make a run. Maybe a lot of these teams are still holding out for potential LEC expansion in the future. Maybe a lot of these teams are, just deciding, hey, do we really want to spend this money? Does it really make sense? Maybe we think LEC slots are going to go down in the future. I don't know. But so far, all these LEC and LCS slots have done is go up and up and up in value. So it seems like, trying to get your hand on one is really exciting. But then again, we have this whole Koi Rogue potential partnership as well that could get very, very interesting. But that's pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate that so much. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about anything we talked about in this video today. Subscribe, stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.